This video is sponsored by ScanFactory. ScanFactory is an attack surface management platform that uses 15 different tools to provide a real-time security monitoring across all the external assets of a company. The platform was able to identify P1 critical bugs in companies like IBM, Adobe, Verizon, and many more. It has an open source project, which is a Bug-Bounty-Recon-Dataset of all the available public bug bounty programs, with over 22 lakhs of subdomain, ASNs, ports, and many others info. What you can do with this dataset is that you can search for any technology which has available publicly known zero-day exploit, for example, Grafana, and go through all the available assets in this dataset if any of them is vulnerable to that exploit, and report it and earn some bounties. You can also use this dataset by git cloning it on your local machine or download the dataset and go to the favicon directory and search for the technology that you want and set out some unwanted strings, and then you can use your favorite scanner. For example, I have used Nuclei here and scan Grafana. They also has this Telegram bot which you can access by simply clicking on this button, and it will redirect you to the Telegram. Here you just need to supply the command /start and the domain which you want to scan. For example, I have given google.com to start scanning on it, and it will notify me once the scanning has been done. So definitely check out ScanFactory and their platform, and also their open source Bug-Bounty-Recon-Dataset to earn some good bounties. Thank you.
Welcome to my channel, guys. I am overjoyed to have you here, and I am looking forward to all of the fantastic conversation we will be having today. Joining us today, a top hacker, ranks #1 on the OpenBugBounty platform, and he's none other than Nicholas Suribas, and he has helped fixing more than 85,000 vulnerabilities on more than 10,000 websites. Yes, you heard it right. 85,000 vulnerabilities, bugs he has found. And if you would like to know how he did it, what's the secret of it, so stick with me till the end. And Nicholas, thank you once again for having with us today and accepting my invitation and to spend some time with us from your busy schedule. So, what will we be learning today? I want to ask you.
Thank you first. How I should start? I'm French. I started cybersecurity as a hobby. It was around 2000. At that time, in France, there was several ISIN on the boards where you can talk about cybersecurity, but it was more about cracking software protection. So that's why I start. The cracking scene was kinda strong in France at that time, and so I start learning assembly and reversing software. But I was always interested in web security, web vulnerabilities. At that time, there was some kind of stupid vulnerabilities in CGIs, so it was easy to hack some servers. And in 2006, I wanted to learn Python. So I tried to find something to do cybersecurity on learning Python at the same time, and I start writing a crawler. I had an unclear vision of what I wanted to do. I think I already knew I'm going to go for a vulnerability scanner, but I wasn't that sure at that time. But the project grew, and finally it's very stable now. I have a few contributors to help me on the project. I'm doing it on my spare time always, so it's kinda hard to find sometimes but I spend some nights, some time to work on it. On the about that OpenBugBounty stuff, well, the first idea was how I can test my software to make sure it is stable enough. When you have something like a crawler that must work correctly on every kind of website, it's hard to just do the usual unit testing on the developer stuff. So you have to, in fact, test it on every website you can. So it started on that way. So testing on millions of websites to find vulnerabilities on the at the same time, what about reporting those vulnerabilities too? So OpenBugBounty was very handy for that. So if I can speak a little about the setup of that mass scanning, I use what we call a message broker called RabbitMQ. So the advantage of this is that you can split a big process into several tasks, and each task sends a message to the next one. This way, you can adapt how many workers, how many processes you want to launch or stop for each task. And if something bad happens at some time, the message is queued in an error queue, and you can see what happened and put it back later. So it's very efficient.
So automation is a must when you do like mass scaling hunting. So have you heard about it, Nuclei from the Project Discovery? Have you tried it? Nuclei.
Nuclei. Yes, nuclei. I call it nuclei in French. Yes, it's a very interesting project. I already used it for several times, but it's different from Wapiti because Wapiti will search for unknown vulnerabilities. In fact, the objective is really to just send payload and see if you get some interesting error responses or some given behaviors, like when testing for blind SQL injection, you can use the sleep function, and then you test the behavior. Is the website sleeping? Then you can test. And the nuclei works differently because he will test some non URLs, for example, instead of really crawling the website.
So can you show us some practical of Wapiti? It's possible. I mean, some practical information. You can set the screen, I guess.
So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So let's launch on my favorite target. So HTTP. So it's a website most hacker knows because it's vulnerable by design. So I will first show you the new features and detailed reports. So there is a new option called -dir. Then I will flush the session because I already scanned the website previously. Make it verbose with colors. And let's just use the SQL attack module. I think I'm good. So it will scan on attack. Okay, so we already have a vulnerability found in artist.php. Okay. So then after I will show the generated report, another vulnerability in list products.php. It should not be long. I can also stop it. Alors, let's generate the report up. Here we go. So here is the HTML report. But here we have new entries in the report that are very interesting for users. First, you have the full HTTP request that was sent. Here you can see the payload for the SQL injection attack. And very interesting too, you now have the HTTP response. So, for example, if you search for MySQL, you can see here the error that explain why Wapiti finds the vulnerability. So this is one of the new features. And the other interesting features is man in the middle proxy feature. So I will just
research flush session option. I can see flush session.
It's because I already scanned the website previously, and I want Wapiti to forget everything you know about the crawled URLs. Now I will show another feature. So this time I say do not attack by giving an empty module option. And I will use man in the middle proxy port. 999. Okay. So it launch man in the middle proxy listening on that port. Next, I can activate proxy toggle here. So we will use that proxy port. And then I can go on the website. And we can see here the request or code. So I can do some request, try the login. And when I'm finished, when I'm done, I can ctrl-c, and then it will act like it does usually searching for vulnerabilities.
So generally your methodology involves just automation scanning, or you also try some manual methods like using bug, or otherwise you just directly use this Wapiti MIDM proxy feature?
So that new feature is interesting for getting all the things the scanner will normally not find, like XML, HTTP requests, dynamic web pages, stuff like that. And I can also show you the next feature. So there is no the ability to use a headless browser. This time let's try Juice Shop. Okay. Where is the website? Here. So I will change the target website. And the headless crawler will appear. So we already saw some requests made in the background. And here he will crawl every URL you can find. So because the headless browser can't exactly tell when a page is finished to load, there is some wait time in effect. By default, is waiting 2 seconds on every web page. It's enough most of the time to see what is happening. And still I can ctrl-c to stop the listening. And voilà.
So, what is your general methodology? Means, how do you start hunting? What's your mindset when you start hunting?
Can you repeat?
What is your mindset when you start hunting, and what's your methodology? Means, most of the people would like to know, like, because how are you able to find so many bugs?
In the process of finding bugs on OpenBugBounty, one of the most critical part is finding a website. First, I was using the search stream feed. So it's a feed which monitors every time a website publish a new certificate. So you can get quite a lot of website for this, but then I went for some more targeted website. For example, if I want to scan all .gov websites which have a better ranking on OpenBugBounty, I'm using a project called Common Crawl. So it's a project that publish every month the list of URLs that their crawlers found. And so basically I download all the files, all the indexes of the URLs, then I filter to see if the URL is interesting to me. So obviously an URL with parameters in it is more interesting than the regular website with a slash. And then I can filter also if I want every .gov URL. I can do that. So I have then a little script that will push all that filtered URLs to the message broker, RabbitMQ, and then the process of using Wapiti and creating a report is made. I end up with a ton of JSON reports, and I have another script that will read all those reports and send the data to OpenBugBounty. So it's a bit tricky at that step because there is some kind of anti-bot protection of the website. So I have to log in on the website first with my browser, and I use some kind of Python module to reuse cookies and connect to the website. That's a bit complicated.
So if I summarize, you first monitors the certificates because they are constantly updating the certificates of new websites that are coming, right? And after that, you go to common crawl and you find those URLs for that website. All the interesting ones are parameters, those URLs which are in parameters. Then that URL list you download from common crawl and importing the Wapiti or and other tool you have, right? And then
Yes.
you do the testing or hunting, right?
Yes, exactly. Also, using command crawl, I can filter on the parameters names I find in the URLs, because we all know that some URLs, some parameters have more risk of being vulnerable. For example, if you are searching for file inclusion vulnerabilities, you will see the URL has some parameters like file, path, open, stuff like this. And the same goes for XSS, obviously. So most of the time for OpenBugBounty, I'm scanning for XSS, but I can also use other attack modules from Wapiti, like command execution or stuff like this, if I want to test a specific module to see if it works correctly.
So, like, you manage your time in doing hunting and your work and your life?
It's always difficult, and also I have a 5-month-old baby now, so it's hard to find some time. Thank you. So when I have even a few hours of spare time after working or at 11, I can work on little tasks, but that's not bad because it gives me the opportunity to think about what I'm going to do longer before. So that way I will introduce less bug in the code.
And out of all your bugs you have found up till now, so which one is your favorite one? And are those 85,000 bugs you submitted, most of them XSS, or are there any other bugs as well?
So at some point I was looking to introduce a new XSS payload into Wapiti. So I changed my script in order to scan the web page where the payload simple string was reflected, but the XSS payload did not work. So obviously they were blocked in some way, and I spent some time manually to understand what was happening and find a way to bypass that filter. And then when I found a handful of interesting bypass payload, I added them to Wapiti, and sometimes it took me 1 hour to find a good way to bypass the website. So I'm very proud of those payloads and happy to offer that to my Wapiti users.
What do you do apart from hacking? Means apart from your work, apart from hacking, what do you do?
First, I take care of my children. Of course, I have a 6-year-old daughter, so I like to spend some time with her. And also, I love cars. Honda's cars. I have a CRX Del Sol, so it's a Japanese roadster. I like
Lobster.
it.
It's a lobster? Right. Oh. Is
I
it
don't know if.
Roadster. Okay, I heard.
Yes, I may not pronounce words correctly because
Yeah.
I'm not English, but I try my best. So what I call a roadster is a 2-seater when you can remove the top. So here it's what we call a targa, because there is some the body of the car is still behind you, and I remove the roof manually. So you turn two things at each side of the car, and you can put the roof in the trunk.
So yeah, I think so. Most of the questions are being covered. So would you like to share anything improvements done to the Wapiti recently as you are speaking? So
the next thing I like to work on Wapiti, there are first the continuation of the headless thing. So know that some XML HTTP requests are caught. It means we will have a lot of JSON on the XML request being sent. So we need to inject some payloads in that format. So this is the major improvement I will have to do. And also I'd like to bring some what I call passive modules, because they will analyze each web page the crawler find, and then, for example, those passive modules will extract OSINT information. For example, every email addresses, LinkedIn profiles, or even interesting paths that are exposed in error messages, for example. So those are some kinda low-hanging fruit, but I think it will be very interesting.
So would you like to show some new features that you have implemented right now in the Wapiti recently that you have?
I already showed all that the headless feature, and so
you have shared on the YouTube.
Yes.
Okay. So also what is left? So then that. Yeah. So what do you think that makes people think it's hard to find a bug? I mean, what do you believe makes it difficult for most of the people to find bugs on the website? Because lots of people struggle finding even their first bug in bug.
I think when you're a human you need to find a vulnerability, it's always hard to be organized and clearly writing down everything you did. So you always forget something, and that's where it's very interesting to use an automated tool like Wapiti. But of course, Wapiti can't do everything. So I think it's good to use the both views. So you can use Wapiti to do some part of the job, and it will find the low-hanging fruits. But then you should go for something like Wasp, Zap, or Burp Suite to do some more specific tests. Wapiti will never be as efficient as a very good, very clever attacker. So, but it's nice to use a tool and see and understand how it works.
So we should also do manual stuff as well, like using Wapiti as well as checking manually using Burp and Zap proxy, other proxies, right? So apart from
Yes, yeah.
from that, do you use any other tool, or what are used? Because in the market there are lots of web vulnerability scanners coming. Like one of the industrial standard one is Acunetics. You might have known that, Acunetics. So what do you think about that?
Well, first, they are not open source or free, so I can't give the advice of using them. They are certainly good because they have a big team of developers behind it, while I'm the main developer of Wapiti for years now. So the development of Wapiti is of course slower. I started the project in 2006, and now I'm only starting to introduce the headless browser feature. So it's a tedious work, but finally it will be as good as those competitors, I think.
That's really great. Giving back to the community. So, do you have any buy me a coffee link or something where people can help you for the development or something? How can people help you develop that video?
Yes, of course, people can help by fixing bug with us or adding new features. There is our GitHub project, so every people can submit issues or do push requests, and also if someone has some good skill in web design, you can join, because I don't like the HTML report of Wapiti. I made it some years ago, and I basically suck at web design. So feel free to join the project and help me, please.
So how can someone connect with you? What are your social media handles? What's the best?
Yes, I have my Twitter account, and people can talk to me. So I'm not always reply in time, because I'm kinda busy, but yes, I will look at my messages, and people can ask any question if they want to have some help on how to use the software. They can contact me.
So I think so that should round up everything, and I guess so. This is the common message that I talked about with you earlier. So what one message would you like to share with an audience? It should not not necessary. It should be a technical one. But you can say.
Well, you don't need to be a very skillful hacker to find vulnerabilities. Sometimes you just need one clever idea. So I have a little story about that. So one time I give myself an objective, and I said, so let's hack some bitcoins. And so I first search on the internet a list of websites that were accepting bitcoins for e-commerce. And the idea was that such a website will certainly have Bitcoin wallets on their server. So I did the mass scanning thing on those websites, and after some time I found a command injection vulnerability on a website. It was some kind of online game made in Perl. So that those kind of scripts are all often vulnerable, and this way I got a shell on the system, and then I used it was a kernel exploit, I think, for CentOS, which allowed me to get root on the system, and then I looked at every account on the system, and by reading their bash history, I found an account that was connecting using SSH to another server, and fortunately the SSH key wasn't protected by the passphrase, and that's how I ending having root access on an Ethereum exchange. But there was nothing of interest on the server, so it was at early alpha stage of development, but the story is funny. So it all started with just that clever idea was I can if I find a list of Bitcoin related website, I may end up with Bitcoins, which was not the case finally, but it was interesting.
Oh, sorry, I was mute. Oh, sorry for that. So there was quite a story. I mean, minting on a Bitcoin. So what do you think about, coming to that, what do you think about Web3? Right now, you see in the Bug-Bounty community, lots of people want to learn Web3, and lots of people are even earning by finding security vulnerability in the Web3. So what do you think about it?
It's great that Wapiti has more and more focus on that people help us. But I have to do some work on it to make it more easy for user to handle it and learn how it works. So I think it will be one of the next big step. I think of writing documentations, making videos to show some features. So at the moment, I didn't find the time. It was not my priority, but once all the headless browser part and stuff like that is behind me, I think I will work on that documentation part.
So yeah, that's it. I think so. It should wrap everything. And thank you, Nicholas, for being with us today and sharing lots of knowledge. There was a lots of Q&A. I think so. This is a different kind of video that we made today on the channel, but it was really interesting and talking with you.
Thank you, everybody. I was very happy to be to talk to you today. That was interesting. Yes.
So thank you once again, and hoping to see you again on the channel. Maybe when you release some new updates the Wapiti, we can talk again, or you like to talk other things.
Okay, thank you.